These are the new metal album releases for July 19th, 2024. It was kind of a slow weekend, but I still have 6 albums. There's a nice mix of doom metal, stoner metal, death metal, and heavy metal, and an album from Iron Maiden's first vocalist. So let's get into this. First I have Patriarchs in Black with Visioning. This is some classic doom metal, but it's mixed with a lot of different styles. This is their 3rd album. The band consists of John Kelly from Type O Negative and Dan Lorenzo from the band Hades, as well as a bunch of great guest vocalists and bass players. The album starts with an intro track called Entry, featuring violin playing of Jonathan Eng. Then it goes into the first main song, What Do They Know, for the Champions. And this is some classic doom with some cool harmonies. The next track, Before I Go, has some depressing Alice in Chains style guitars and features guest vocals from Carl Agel, the ex-vocalist of Corrosion of Conformity. Next track, Heart of Spite, has some more heavy guitars and includes vocals from Hop Trainer. And then things start to get weird. The next song is called Welcome to Hell Again. It sounds like one of those rap and metal mashups that you would hear on the Judgment Night soundtrack. It was completely out of left field, but I actually liked it. Then they go in a completely different direction. The next song is called Whiskey on My Mind, and it's a blues rock song that includes vocalist Frankie Diaz and bassist Sal Huvara. Empty Cup features vocalists from ex-Hoarders Kyle Thomas, and this one brings back that classic doom sound. And after this is Curse My Name with vocalist Jason McMaster, who you might know from Watchtower or the bigger band Dangerous Toys. And then there's some more of that rap rock and punk with A Few Good Men. Then after that is an instrumental called Birth with Jonathan Eng on the viola and Dan Lorenzo on acoustic guitar. And this album ends with the last song, Visioning, which is just a big mix of jazz, sludge, and doom. Overall, it was the weirdest doom metal album I've ever listened to in my life. But I'll give it credit for that. It's a fun album. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I think if you don't mind things getting a little weird with rap and hip-hop, check it out. Next is the self-titled album from death metal band Daisy Cutter. They're from Munich, Germany. They formed in 2014. This is their first full-length album. Now you may be wondering, why is a death metal band naming their band after something that sounds so pure and innocent? Well, I have some history. First, they took the name from a bomb that was used in the Vietnam War to clear fields, and hence the name Daisy Cutter. Basically, it's some meat and potatoes death metal with a sound leaning towards Swedish death metal, similar to a band like Entombed. The opening track is called No Respect. This track has some brutal riffs and low guttural vocals, but I noticed that the lyrics are understandable. Then there's some more of the OSDM with tracks like Deadeye and a track named after the band called Daisy Cutter. They slow it down on a track called Hollow Man. This one's still filled with some heavy death metal sounds. They have a song called Killing Machine, not a Judas Priest cover, and strangely the second song this month with the same title. As you can watch my previous video if you don't know what I mean. But anyway, song was pretty intense. The next 2 songs were some more OSDM. Seemed to follow the same formula. They slowed down with the track No Gods. That has some cool chugging. Final track was the song Dead Man's Trail, which has some intense drumming. Overall, it's not too bad. If you just want some meat and potatoes death metal, it's worth a listen. My score is 7 out of 10. Should please fans who just want some no-frills death metal. Now I have some epic doom metal with Servant to the Tide with the album Where Time Will Come to Die. They're from Germany, and they've been active since 2018. This is their 2nd album. The album was released on No Remorse Records. This one comes 3 years after the debut, and it's more epic doom. The opening track is called With Starlight We Ride. It's a very energetic and fast-paced song, or At least for a doom metal band it was. After this was the 8-minute Sunrise in Eden. This was on a slower pace. The vocalist named Stephen Werbine. He has really great vocal performance and it was very intense. But at the same time, he could also sing in a more melodic tone. He also gets a great vocal performance on the song White Wanderer. This has a much darker tone and like most of the other songs. The longest track in the album is called If the Stars Should Appear. The song is very representative of what the band can offer, of what epic doom is all about. It has a piano-based intro melody, then it gets heavier. It's one of those songs that has a lot of energy. There's also a short 3-minute song called Towards Zero, another soft piano-based song that reminded me of the softer tracks from a band like Manowar or something like that. And they close the album with the title track, Where Time Will Come to Die. This one has the soft pianos in the intro, but then they hit you with some slow and heavy guitar riffs and has a very big and epic tone, and it's also dark and depressing. Stephen Werbine gives a very powerful vocal performance, and the song goes through tempo changes from the slow to very slow, maybe a little faster, and then they mix in some classical music interludes in here as well. Overall, it reminded me of a cross between Candlemass and Savatage, so my score is 8 out of 10. If you like doom metal and some big and heavy riffs that can sound depressing and gloomy, check out this band. Next, I have the band SkyEye with the album New Horizons. The band is from Slovenia, and they've been active since 2014. It's their third album. The band plays traditional heavy metal, maybe a little bit of power metal influence. The main influences are Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and some power metal of Halloween and Hammerfall. The songs have an old school metal sound. So, for example, the main guitar riff of track number 3, Far Beyond, sounds like something you would hear from a metal band in the 80s. The song Nightfall has an epic feel with like a Dio or a Rainbow influence. Railroad of Dreams has some big vocals and might remind you of some of the later work from Bruce Dickinson. There's an 8-minute song called Saraswati, and this one begins with some Middle Eastern sounds, a slow pace, some tribal drums, and an overall atmospheric feel. The song continues with big and epic guitar riffs and a powerful vocal performance. The title track is very energetic, has some fast rhythms and intense drumming. The guitars sound like machine guns and the vocals are much darker. Then there is the voice from the Silver Mountain. And the song title made me think of The Man on the Silver Mountain by Rainbow, but it was more of a slower, epic, and doom and metal track. The vocals were very powerful. I also noticed a Bruce Dickinson type of sound in the vocals. And then the song Forgotten Nation has a very powerful, traditional, heavy metal sound with some awesome guitar riffs and powerful drums and moving at a rapid-fire pace. The last song was called 1917. And it's a very big and epic album closer. Reminded me of one of the bigger songs from the last Iron Maiden album. Has everything you would expect. It has the epic guitar riffs, the big vocals. There's a history lesson in the lyrics, and it's a big song. Overall, one of those bands that's not original, but they don't emulate their heroes too much. I could say they sound like Iron Maiden, but I've heard other bands sound a lot more like Iron Maiden clones. This band just carries their influence, so it's not too bad. My score is a 7.5 out of 10. I think if you're a fan of classic heavy metal and you can get past the comparisons to the aforementioned bands, I think you would like it. The next band is called Orange Goblin, and the album is called Science Not Fiction. They're a stoner rock or stoner metal band from the UK. They've been around a while. They've been active since 1995. This is their 10th album. The new album was released on Peaceful Records. The album opens with a song, The Fire at the Center of the Earth Is Mine. This was one of the singles. There's a very trippy music video. It starts with that thick and heavy bass guitar, and then the guitar kicks in, reminiscent of Black Sabbath's Children of the Grave. The song has lots of heavy guitars, and they use these pretty cool spacey effects. The next song is called Not Rocket Science. The universe to give us a sign. and this one has it's just heavy rock and roll. That's how I can describe it. I read some comments comparing it to Motorhead. The music video was very reminiscent of 1950s science fiction movies. The next track was Ascend the Negative, and I thought this one had more of a progressive rock type of sound. I felt the guitar riff was a little more complex. The song was filled with lots of trippy and psychedelic stoner rock guitar riffs. One of the standout tracks was called False Hope Diet. And this had some guitar playing that was very psychedelic and song had different changes throughout its runtime. After this is a song called Cemetery Rats, and it starts with a creepy piano playing that sounds like an intro to a horror movie. The song has trippy and distorted psychedelic bass guitar sound. Later on the album, there's a song called The Justice Knife, and this one has lots of different changes. There's a bass guitar interlude. It's faster, it's more energetic, and it has a maybe more energetic pace than some of the other songs or the slower songs. And the album ends with a song called End of Transmission, which is a slower and trippier type of song. This one is an awesome breakdown towards the middle of the song. Overall, not too bad. I think if you're a fan of stoner metal or stoner rock, you could appreciate it. I guess it can be compared to the band Fu Manchu, who recently released an album not too long ago. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. If you like stoner music with slow and heavy riffs mixed with trippy and psychedelic stuff, I think you should check it out. The last album I have is the self-titled album by Paul Di'Anno's Warhorse. And you all know he was the original singer of Iron Maiden. He's been in lots of bands and has had lots of different musical projects over the years since he left Maiden. And it's his latest project. He teams up with two musicians from Croatia. So it's a new band, and the music is not too bad. There's a little bit of variety on the album. There are a few cover songs, so let me talk about them. The album is 10 songs, 36 minutes long. Opening track, Warhorse, has a classic heavy metal sound, cool gang vocals, and melodic guitars. Paul still sounds very good despite his recent health problems. Next song, Get Ready, or Get Ready, sounded like Except from the mid-'80s when they released a Metal Hard album. Just that type of sound. And then there was a track called Go, which has some darker tones and clean guitars mixed in the sound. And they had the backing vocals, and it sounded very low in the mix. And then there was Stop the War, which has some Van Halen style guitar acrobatics in the intro, and a very energetic song. And then they get heavier with a song, The Doubt Within, with powerful guitar riffs and some softer interludes. So a big fist-pumping chorus. Next is a song called Here Comes the Night. It has a slow intro, goes into some mid-paced traditional heavy metal. This was one of the few songs that reminded me of his sound with Megadeth. And then, not Megadeth, it reminded me of his sound with Iron Maiden. And then there's a cover song of Tequila, which if you're my age, you know the Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure movie from the 80s. I didn't like this song that much, but then there was a song called Forever Bound. That was probably the most Iron Maiden sounding song in the album, which has everything you would expect from the melodic riffs to the galloping guitars. Then another one, a cover song, Precious by Depeche Mode, and was okay. I didn't think much of it. And the final song was called Going Home, and some straightforward heavy metal. Had a pretty memorable chorus, but overall, I thought the album was not too bad. I think if you like the first two Iron Maiden albums, or if you're a fan of Paul Di'Anno, you can appreciate it. But for me, it's just a 7 out of 10. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's just a good, decent heavy metal album. So that is all. Please check out last week's episode right there. New metal releases for July 12th. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. Ring the bell for notifications. You can find me on Facebook and TikTok. Links in the video description. And I will see you in the next one.